We are Brooklyn Bell Reads, and I am going to be doing my 2023 reading wrap up. I've decided to share with you my stats from the app StoryGraph. So 2023 was the year I decided to get back into reading, and I kind of started like midway. So these stats are basically from the months of June to December. I was able to read a total of 14 books, and across that 14 books, that means I read a total of 3,694 pages. Out of those 14 books, 3 of them were audiobooks that I listened to. So that means I listened to a roughly of 20.6 hours. The very first book that I completed was Grown by Tiffany Jackson, and the last book that I finished was The Holiday Switch by Tiff Marciello. So next update, sharing with me a mood map of my reading. It states that lighter books push the line up and darker books push the line down. So as you can see, I started off with a darker book, and by the end of the year, I ended up with some lighter books. And that's exactly what it says. I enjoy some lighthearted fun, rode a roller coaster of emotions, and burst into fits of laughter. I definitely rode a roller coaster of emotions with a couple of books that I read. I'm not sure about fits of laughter. Most of the stories develop at a steady pace. I do agree with that. Now on to exactly how many books, pages, and minutes I read per month in graph form. So the light blue is the number of books I read, the red color is the number of pages I read, and the green color is the number of minutes listened. So as you can see, the green dots that are higher, those are all of the nonfiction books that I read in 2023. Everything else was physical books. Now it's congratulating me on meeting my reading goal. I started off with one book because I was in a multi-year book slump. And once I was able to complete that in the month of July, I revised that goal to 7 and was able to complete that in the month of October. And I didn't revise it after that. I just left it as it was and kept on reading and ended up reading 14 books total for the year. Now let's look at the genres that I spent the most time with. Feminist came in at 2 books, thrillers at 3, romance at 5, young adults at 5, and contemporary at 8. I do predict that this will change a lot in 2024. I am predicting a lot less young adult books as I'm learning about what I like to read and what I don't like to read. I am predicting that there's going to be less young adult books in 2024. Next up is the longest book that I've read. Coming in at 406 pages was The Weight of Blood by Tiffany D. Jackson. And the shortest book was Wash Day Diaries by Jamila Rouser. And that came in at 192 pages. That is a graphic novel, so that's why it was so short. Okay, so now it's telling me the average length of books that I read, which came out to be 320 pages, and it took me about 14 days to read each book. The book that took me the shortest time was Wash Day Diaries, coming in at 2 days. So I know that may be a little bit weird to some people, but I am a mood reader as well as a slow reader. So there's days where I decide that I want to pick up a book and read, and there's days that I don't. And depending on the time of day that I actually sit down to read the book, determines how many pages I read for that day. If it's later on in the day, I'm probably just going to get through one chapter. If I pick up the book earlier in the day, it's more likely that I will pick up it would be more likely that I read more than one chapter, and it also depends on how long those chapters are. So that is why a very short book took me 2 days, and my longest book, or the longest time spent with a book, was 28 days, and that was must love books. I'm actually interested in how long it took me to read all of the books that I read in 2023. Next up is the authors I spent the most time with in 2023, and that is Shonda Robinson and Tiffany D. Jackson. I read 2 of Shauna's books and 2 of Tiffany's books. I predict that Tiffany D. Jackson will appear here again in this section for 2024, as well as Holly Jackson, because I do want to read 2 more of Tiffany's books, as well as finish the Good Girl's Guide to Murder series by Holly Jackson. Okay, so now we're getting into ratings. My average rating was 3.48 stars. I love that here on StoryGraph you can give half stars. So there's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stars, and then you can do a 0.25, 0.5, and 0.75. So a couple of my reads have those half star ratings. In 2023, I end up giving 2 books 5 stars, and they are A Good Girl's Guide to Murder and The Weight of Blood by Tiffany D. Jackson. And speaking of ratings, here is a graph of how my ratings break down. So 2 books came in at 2 stars, 1 book 2.75 stars, 3 at 3 stars, 1 at 3.5, 2 at 3.75, 3 at 4 stars, and 2 at 5 stars. Now it's telling me how were my months as far as the rating goes. November was the highest average rating with 4.25 stars. It turns out that September wasn't my favorite month with an average of 3 stars. And a quick note, in the month of November, I saw myself slowing down with my reading. I was picking up books less and less. In the month of December, same thing, although I completed 4 books, but I was pushing myself to finish those books. And as you can see, I read 963 pages in the month of December, finished out the Holly Jackson book, went on to do an audiobook, which was Everyday Magic, and then 2 holiday reads. And that was The Love in Winter Wonderland and Holiday Switch. So now they're telling me more stats comparing what I read in 2023 versus what other users of the app read. So the book that was most shelved last year by other users was Good Girl's Guide to Murder, and the least shelved was Everyday Magic by Maddie James. And the highest rated book that I read last year was Bad Fat Black Girl, Notes from a Trapped Feminist by Cecily Bowen. In 2023, I explored the works of 12 new authors. Previously saw that 2 of the books that I read, 2 authors that I read more than one of their books. So other than that, I read a total of 12 new authors, including Morgan Jerkins, Taj McCoy, and Christina Forrest. 2 of the books I read were a part of a series. You may be familiar with the other one, as mentioned several times in this wrap-up, A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, and Love, Comment, and Subscribe. I did not know that this was a series. It was just a random pick off the library shelf and ended up liking it. And doing some research after I finished the book, found out it was a part of a series. There's two additional books, and I am thinking about reading them. Next up is the fact that every single book that I read were new stories or ideas for me in that year, no rereads. Of course, this is true because I just got back into reading. I do predict that at some point I will be rereading a couple of books. In fact, I definitely want to reread Bad Fat Black Girl. I listened to it on audio and I want to give it another try and actually read the physical book this time. So maybe my rating might change when I do that. Next is telling me that I finished all the books that I picked up this year. No DNFs, meaning did not finish. This stat is not quite 100% true. I am planning on doing a video sharing with you a couple of books that I actually picked up in 2023 that I did not finish. The only difference is that I have not DNF'd these books. I actually paused these books, and there's a term for that I recently found out, and it's called PFN, pause for now. The next stat is that I successfully completed one reading challenge. I like that here on StoryGraph we have a variety of different reading challenges. So you can set your reading goal for the year, and then you can also do some other challenges. So last year I did set my goal, and I also tried out one challenge, and that was the onboarding challenge. So basically it gave me a couple of prompts of different types of books that I can choose from that meet the prompt. And once I read that book, I added to that particular prompt. And once I completed the challenge, it let me know how many books that I read. So if you're not aware, StoryGraph is gaining popularity in the book community. It's a app for both, I believe, Android and iPhone users. They do have a free and paid version. So as you can see here is letting me know that if I upgraded to their Plus subscription, I would get access to extra wrap-up data, which includes mood and page charts based on my reviews and information about which book characteristics I like the most. I am still new to this particular app, so I'm just learning and figuring out my way on the platform. Last year, all I did was track the day that I started the book, the day that I finished, and then I came in and put my star ratings on the books that I've read. This year, I want to use it more, figuring out exactly how you do the review system and a couple of more challenges and seeing all the other new features that are coming down the line with StoryGraph. Two in particular that I want to try out is the read along and the buddy read. So if you're interested in that and you're on the app, let's be friends and connect, and we can figure out which book we want to do for one of those. So here is my at a glance all the books that I read for the year 2023. So we had two books, sorry about that. Two books by Tiffany D. Jackson. They were Grown and The Weight of Blood. We had two books by Shauna Robinson, Must Love Books and The Banned Bookshop of Maggie Banks. And then the other books were Bad Fat Black Girl by Cecily Blowen. This would be My Undoing by Morgan Jerkins. Love, Comment, Subscribe, Kathy Yarley. Wash Day Diaries, The Neighbor Favor by Christina Flores. Zora Books Her Happily Ever After, Taj McCoy. Holly Jackson's A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. Everyday Magic by Maddie James. Tiff Marcello, The Holiday Switch, and Abla Bello, Love in Winter Wonderland. So that is my 2023 stats or year in review wrap up via StoryGraph. Now I want to do a quick look at the same stats in Goodreads, although it may be a little bit similar. Okay, so let's look at my stats on Goodreads. I'm just going to go through this very quickly because it's going to be similar. According to Goodreads, I read 14 books. That's the same. Total number of pages read 4,497. This is a little bit off because of two reasons. One, for Everyday Magic by Maddie James. In Goodreads, they didn't have all of the details, so I left this one as a physical book, whereas on StoryGraph, I tracked it as the audio book. So that is why that is different. The second reason is I noticed there is some differences in the number of pages with physical books between the two apps. I'm not sure what the reason is behind this. Is it the editions or just the information that is being inputted? But that is why that number is slightly different between the two apps. For the shortest book read and the longest book read, same stats here. Average book length in 2023, similar stats here. The book that was most shelved by other people and least shelved by other people on this particular app is the same as StoryGraph. On Goodreads, my average rating is a 3.3. Remember, on StoryGraph, you can do half stars. On Goodreads, you cannot. The book that is the highest rated on Goodreads that I read last year or listened to last year is the same. My very first book and first review of the year is the same. So, like I mentioned before, StoryGraph, I just did when I started and finished the book plus my star rating. On Goodreads, I actually posted a quick review. If you're on Goodreads, you can read my quick reviews of all the books that I've read. And then they share with you the covers of all the books that you read for the year. So that's going to be the same. And then my last review of the year was Holiday Switch. I gave that 2 stars. And then it tells me my status on my reading goal, which I completed in October when I hit 7 books, and then I read additional 7 books after that. And that is it for the stats on Goodreads. I think this is why a lot of people are loving the other newer apps that are out there, because they give you a lot more stats and graphs on your reading if you're using them. So I am going to be using StoryGraph more in 2024. My reading goal is 12 books. So that's 1 book per month, which is what I was averaging last year. I was reading or completing 1 to 2 books in a month. If I hit that goal before December, I don't think I'm going to revise it. If I do, it may be a little bit higher than 12, but it won't be that much higher, because I just want to take my time and really enjoy the books that I'm reading and really get to know exactly the types of books that I enjoy reading. So that is my year in books 2023. If you enjoyed this video, please let me know by giving it a thumbs up. It lets me know that you would like more videos like this and you enjoy my content that I put out, as well as help the video be shared to other people. If you don't want to miss any of my uploads, which is weekly at 1 p.m. Standard Eastern Time on Saturdays, you can go ahead and subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell to be notified once the video has been posted. Once again, thank you for supporting my channel and watching my videos. I'll see you back here next week. Until then, take care.